This answer is written by a girl who started having sex when she was 10. Yes, when I was 10. It is a rather long story, but needless to say, I was your daughter at 16 roughly. I'll tell you how my parents handled it, and how I as an adult wish they had handled it. How it was handled. My parents, a wee bit of background first, are Mormons. Great folks. I remember very clearly speaking to my father about naughty videos on the TV, and the neighborhood girl who was in my grade who showed them to me, kissed me, and who then proceeded to show me how to not just pleasure myself, but her too. I still remember very clearly the start of that conversation, my dad's serious face, and his telling me it was a bad thing, unnatural, and against God. Well, that girl opened me to the world of sex. She even invited me over a few times after that, but my parents always said no, and then when I was 12 we moved to South Korea and lost touch. In South Korea, I very quietly reveled in my sexual exploration. I learned everything I could. I had my first male partner at 15. My parents weren't home and I was curious. Up until then, I had only been with other girls, most of whom were also checking out their curiosity in sex within my school or my religion. I actually had a thing for one of the girls for years whom I saw only a few times a year, but they were lovely meet-up times. Right. My first male lover. It was an addiction. I couldn't stop. I was searching for something. My mom waited and didn't try to talk to me about the birds and the bees until I was 16 and I laughed. It was then my parents realized something was going on, I think, and the helicopter parenting kicked in hard. After that I was never allowed to go with friends and do stuff after school. I lived in a place where just an hour and a half very safe subway ride would bring me to a huge indoor amusement park. I always had to watch my friends go gallivanting off without me. In my senior year, my parents relaxed that rule a little and bought a family cell phone that was for whomever wanted to go out with friends on a prearranged weekend. Through all of this, I was forced to hide the fact that I was getting some at school. Sex was easily available. No condoms, no protection. I didn't even know what condoms were thanks to schools only teaching abstinence, which I severely disagree with. I didn't even learn what STDs were until years later when a gay guy in college twice my age found out that I was pregnant. He was utterly horrified at my lack of knowledge. He taught me some very useful skills in putting on condoms. How I as a parent would handle it now, information is key. It wouldn't matter if my child is male, female, or an it, I would still do the same thing. By 10, when they hit puberty, I'd sit them down to that embarrassing talk whether or not we've had it before, and I'd slap a huge box of condoms on the table and a banana or 6. Practice makes perfect, yes? There would be an open dialogue where my kid can come running to me if they are out of condoms. Daughters would get an IUD. If a doctor balks, it's time to get a new doctor. I have in my subsequent years of becoming an adult, tried a lot of men on for size, and happily bopped along to the next, getting tested between my partners. I have spent thousands on getting tested, thanks to a promiscuous past. I would encourage my kids to do well in school, studies, and whatever torment they wish to undergo in the ways of sports. And also, there would have to be an explanation of the difference between porn and real sex. It took me years to sort that out on my own, and by then I was 17 and about to be pregnant with no idea what birth control or STDs were. So, to really answer your question, how do you stop this behavior? You don't. You teach your child the reality of life and sex and the choices she has and how to protect herself, and you let her know she can come to you with questions and you will guide her as best you can. You make sure she knows the consequences of her actions and you give her the tools and education to make valid and honest choices. Otherwise, she's just going to hide it from you and end up pregnant and ignorant about the world of sex and end up learning from strangers instead of from you.